Hey everyone, welcome back to another Vinyasa practice. In this one, we're working up into a couple of arm balances. In particular, we're focusing on our crow pose, our kakasana, our bhujapidasana, our shoulder pressure pose, and we might have some time to play with our titabasana, our firefly pose. So you can expect a bit of strengthening through the upper body core, as well as lengthening through the hamstrings and the adductors as well. Now, this is a short form version of a longer class that we have in our Patreon account. This is where we go into our asana in a little bit more depth, and we also try to thread these three arm balances into one transition, which is inspired by Ashtanga yoga. So if you wanted to check that out, I'll leave that in the description down below. Okay, let's get into it. We'll start in a child's pose. So you can have your knees a little bit more narrow here, or you can take them wider. Bring your big toes together, sink your hips back. Maybe arms are forward, they could be by your sides. I'm not going to stay here for too long, but just using the next couple of breaths to really land here. Landing in a physical sense. Noticing how the body is feeling today as you turn up on your mat. But also noticing yourself on a more subtle level. Are there any particular thoughts that are occupying your mind at the moment? Any energies that are present? And oftentimes we can try and disguise these or hide these within our day. And when we turn up to the mat, there's a really sometimes confronting, but can be quite magical moment where we have to acknowledge ourselves. Where sometimes there are no places to hide. And that can be quite scary. But it can also be very transforming. So just notice. Take a deep breath in through the nose, fill up the belly, the ribs and the chest. And a deep breath out through the nose, let it all go. One more time, breathe in through the nose. As you exhale, can you start to constrict the back of the throat, finding Ujjayi Pranayama. That's going to help make a sound as we move through our practice today. When you're ready, we're going to start to roll ourselves up into a tabletop position. So hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Really spread your fingertips wide here, so making as big of a gap between each finger as possible. And then start to shift your weight forward and then back. Moving in this way a couple of times just to bring some warmth into the wrists. If you did feel like a little bit more already, you can tuck onto the toes, lift the knees off the ground. And as you shift forward and back, you just want to keep the knees just a centimeter or a couple of centimeters off the ground. So we're not lifting the hips up too high. This is just going to start to challenge our core a little bit more. Keep pressing the hands into the ground, protracting the shoulder blades away from each other. Now you can keep your left knee down on the ground, or you can keep both knees off the ground. Start to kick your right foot back. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, try take it to the side until it lands with your hip. We're going to hold here for another 2 breaths. You could always have the right foot down here. If you felt like the extra challenge, your right foot is off the ground. And then land both the left knee and the right foot. Whew, that was challenging. Right toes forward, outer edge of the right foot presses down, and then start to shift yourself forward and back. So opening through the adductors and the hamstrings a little bit more. And then walk yourself back, your hands back, and stand up on your shin. Squeeze your glutes a little bit, tuck the tailbone, hands come to the hips. Take a deep breath in through the nose. As you exhale, can you push your hips back, finding a hinge position? Spine stays really long, squeeze the shoulder blades back. Inhale, come back through center, turn your right toes away. As you exhale, start to bend your right knee over the middle of the foot. Drop your hips in the direction of the right heel. Inhale, come back, turn your right toes forward. Exhale, push your hips back. Inhale, lift up, turn your right toes out. Exhale to bend. One more, breathe in. Exhale to hinge. Inhale, lift up, turn the right toes. Exhale, bend. Come back through center, lift the right knee up in front of you until it comes to a hover. Hands can kind of come out to the sides for balance. And then when you're ready, plant the right toes down, right foot down, tuck left toes, stalk pose, lifting all the way up. Hug the hands around the front of the shin and really squeeze your left knee in. Maybe a little slight back bend here with the upper body. Feeling a bit of length through the right hip flexor. Start to bring your left foot down to the ground. Walk your feet out wide, turn the toes out. Breathe in as you reach your arms forward. As you exhale, Malasana, garland pose. Hands come through heart center. Squeeze the knees out with your elbows. Take a breath in to lift up really tall. As you exhale, can you engage your glutes more? Can you just squeeze the shoulder blades back even further? Hands come down to the ground, breathe in, lift up, walk your feet back into plank, exhale, hold. So we're gonna practice 3 chaturanga push-ups. You can be on your knees or your toes here. Inhale, shift your weight forward. Exhale, bend your elbows, tuck them in, lower halfway. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, lower half. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, lower half. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, lower half. This time come down onto your belly. Inhale, baby cobra. Might be low, might be a little bit higher. As you exhale, push onto your knees. Shift your hips back. Come into child's pose just for a moment. Hips back towards the heels, arms long. Take a deep breath in through the nose. And a deep breath out through the nose, let it go. Find your way back into a tabletop position. So hands under shoulders, knees underneath the hips. So remember, you can keep the knees down or you can tuck toes, lift the knees off. We're not going to do as much shifting forward and back, but we'll just do a couple. So shoulders shift forward, come high onto the toes, and then shoulders shift back. Let's go one more. Hold back and center. You can keep the right knee off or you can touch it down. Extend the left foot out long. Take a deep breath in. As we exhale, take it around until it lands about halfway up. So foot can be off the ground, can be on the ground. Let's hold 2 more breaths here. Oh, I'm shaking. One more. And then gracefully, with control, land the knee and the foot. Take a couple of shifts forward and back here. Let's go one more breath. And then come back through center, walk the hands towards you. Keep the toes facing forward, hands come to the hips. Deep breath in, lift up really tall. As you exhale, push your hips back, lean your chest forward. Inhale, come back through center, turn your toes out. Exhale, bend the left knee, drop into the hips. Inhale, back through center, turn the toes forward. Exhale, hinge back. Inhale, come back up, turn the toes. Exhale to rebend. One more, breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in, turn the toes. Exhale. Come back through center. Hands come out wide. Lift your left knee off the ground. Foot as well. Find your balance for a moment. And then when you're ready, step the left foot forward, tuck onto right toes, lift the right knee high, stalk pose. Hug your hands around the front of the shin, squeeze it in as tight as you can. Subtle lean back with the upper body as well. Left leg as long as possible so you get the good stretch through the front of the leg. Land the right foot down towards the edge of the mat. Turn your toes out, left foot out as well. Breathe in, arms forward, long spine. Exhale, bend your knees. Malasana, garland pose. Hands to heart, squeeze the knees out, engage the glutes. Breathe in, lift your hips up, hands down. Exhale, step back into plank. You know where we're going with this. 3 times. Breathe in, shift forward. Exhale, chaturanga, come halfway. Inhale, press back up. Keep the core really tight, lower halfway. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, lower half. Inhale, press back up. Exhale, lower half. This time we shoot through into upward facing dog. So thighs off the ground, engage the glutes, take another deep breath in, push the hands down, exhale, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Maybe you walk out your feet here, dropping one heel down, dropping the other heel down, pushing through the hands, drawing the chest back, lifting the shoulders away from the ears. Let's go one more breath here before we start a new sequence. Breathe in, sweep the right toes high, 3-legged dog, right leg as long as possible. As you exhale, take your right leg really wide as you roll forward, almost like you're landing your right foot outside your right hand. You can even touch it down, but we're gonna go straight back. Breathe in, take the right leg wide as you lift it back up, 3-legged dog. Exhale, take it wide again as you land it. Let's go one more. Breathe in to lift it up. Exhale, slowly roll it forward. Then really this time we land our right foot down, coming into a lunge position, softening the hips down, drawing the shoulder blades back, fingertips down. Breathe in, step the left foot outside the left hand. Exhale into Malasana, garland pose. Now you can stay here. If you wanted to practice your Kakasana, crow pose, this is a great opportunity to do so. So hands are going to come underneath the shoulders, just like before, spreading fingertips wide. You're going to bend the elbows back a little bit, and the flat part of the knees connects to the shelf that the elbows create as you bend and shift forward. And then you might say here, one foot can hug up, and then maybe the other foot comes up. If you find your balance, just make sure you don't look behind you. I know it's really tempting, but it's just going to help keep your balance. I'm not going to stay here for too long. When you're ready, come back through center, maybe clasp the hands into fists, and then roll out the wrists. As you do so, lift your hips back up high, breathe in, walk the feet hip width distance. As you exhale, fold forward, Uttanasana. We're going to shift our weight into our left foot. Right thigh hugs into the right chest, and you're going to try keep it there as we come up into standing. So keep squeezing your right knee in, almost like the knee is trying to touch towards the nose, maybe even the forehead. So draw the chin into the chest. Oh, that's challenging. Falling all over the place. And then come back through center. Right hand comes around the front of the shin. Take a deep breath in. As we exhale, take the right knee wide, but keep your hips facing forward. We're going to practice that hinge position, hinge motion that we did before on the ground. So breathe in, lift up here. As you exhale, push your hips back and lean the upper body forward. You should feel some engagement through the back of the left leg. Breathe in to lift back up. We're going to try that one more time. Exhale. Hinging forward. Start to release into half moon. So left hand can come down to the ground. I like to have it slightly behind my left foot, kind of on an angle. Right hand is going to reach up. You can always float your moon here, or you can bring your left hand to a block. Really try to wind that right shoulder back, right hip back. One more breath here. Breathe in, land the right foot about 1 meter from the left foot. As we exhale, reversing triangle. So both legs are long here, left hand is up, right hand down the right leg. Breathe in, come back through center, reach the left hand long, push your hips back. Exhale, triangle pose, Trikonasana. So right hand up, left hand down. You're pushing your hips back. You're trying to draw the left hip underneath. Use your next breath in, hands frame out your front foot. As you exhale, downward facing dog. Now you can stay here if you want to flow through a vinyasa with me. Breathe in to roll forward. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, your back bend of choice. Exhale, coming back. Okay, let's try that sequence on the other side. Breathe in, sweep the left toes high, three-legged dog. Keep the leg really long as you roll forward. Take the leg out really wide, almost like you're trying to land it towards the outside of the left foot, left hand. Breathe in, take a wide again as you lift back up. I've got a tree in the way. Exhale, roll forward. Left foot, outside left hand. Let's go one more. Breathe and lift it up. So really trying to engage the glutes here. Exhale, roll it forward. Now really plant the left foot outside the left hand. Lower the hips a little bit. Long lunge. Breathe in, right foot steps outside right hand. Exhale, Malasana, garland pose. Now feel free to stay here. If you wanted to try your Kakasana again, lifting your hips up, hands come forward, bending elbows, shifting body weight forward. I know it seems a bit counterintuitive, but the more you shift forward, the easier it's actually going to be for the knees to find their place on the arm, because the more that the elbows are going to bend. And if you're in crow pose, come back down, Malasana, maybe clasp your hands into fists, roll out the wrists. As we do so, let's come back into our Uttanasana forward fold. Walk the feet underneath your hips here. Same thing as before, shift your weight into your right foot. Left knee is going to hug into the left thigh as we start to lift up to standing. As much as you can, keep it there. And then maybe the nose or the forehead tries to connect with the left knee. So what we're doing is we're bringing lots of hip flexion here. Come up to standing. Left hand comes in front of the left shin. Take a breath in. Exhale, wind the left knee out, but keep the hips square to the front. Breathe in, lift tall. Exhale, lean forward, hips back. Inhale to lift back up. One more time, exhale, lean forward, hips back. Slow release to our Ardha Chandrasana, floating half moon. So right hand could hover, it could touch down to the ground. Sometimes I just like to hold on to my shin. Let's go one more breath. And then land the left foot about 1 meter back. Breathe in as you reverse. Triangle, left hand down, left thigh, right hand up and over. Exhale, hold. Breathe in, come back through center. Right hand reaches forward, left hip pushes back. Exhale, hold, Trikonasana. So really firing through our adductors here. Getting a good twist on with the spine. Inhale, both hands come down to the ground. Exhale, step back, downward facing dog. If you'd like a vinyasa, breathe in, roll forward. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, your back bend of choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we're going to make our way into Malasana. So you can walk there, you can hop there, just taking feet outside the hands, lowering yourself down. Now you can absolutely stay here again. If you'd like to try Bhuja Pidasana, shoulder pressure pose, what you'll do is that you'll lift your hips up high, turn the toes forward, and you're going to wind your shoulders behind the back of the thighs. Okay, you might need to use your hands to do so, kind of pushing on the calves to help shift your chest back. Hands will come down, fingertips facing forward. You'll lower your thighs so they land on top of your elbows. Then you'll walk your feet in, like they're interlacing each other, and then lift up the chest. Looking forward. And you've kind of got the stacking, the interlocking of joints here, which helps to support the weight. We're not going to hang out here for too long. When you're ready, we'll just lower down because sometimes that's the only way to get out of a pose, to fully let go. Maybe flick out the hands. And then when you're ready, come into Uttanasana, forward fold at the front. Feet hip width distance. Left hand comes to left hip, right hand comes, or right peace fingers come around the right big toe. Shift your weight into the left foot and then lift your right foot up high. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Squeeze the right shoulder back. Right knee might be quite bent here, and you can always go with the first option that we did before. Take the right foot around to the side, and in this position, we're going to try that hinge position that we did before. So take a deep breath in. As we exhale, push your hips back. Lean your upper body forward. Try to keep the spine really long. Inhale to come back up. Exhale, hinge. Hold here. Slow release of the right foot with the right hand, warrior three. Hands could be down by your sides. Hands could be overhead. Aiming to find parallel with the body to the ground. Long step back with the right toes, breathe in Anjaneyasana, right knee bends, lift the arms. Exhale, hold, soften the hips forward, little back bend here. Hands come down to the ground, breathe in. Exhale, downward facing dog. No vinyasa this time, we'll just stay back. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the nose. Malasana, breathe in, hop your feet or walk or however you'd like to get there. Land, knees bend, chest lifts. If you wanted to try Bhujapidasana, you can always play with crow pose as well if you want to just stick with that. You're going to draw your chest underneath. Just remember we haven't warmed up a huge amount for this pose. We've done as much as we can with the time that we have, but if things aren't quite falling into place, that's okay. Sometimes we need a little bit longer time. Maybe the feet into lock again, squeeze shoulder blades back, looking forward, fingertips gripping on the ground, and you're trying to balance your weight between the palms and the front of the fingers. One more breath. And then letting your hips drop down to the ground, shake out the wrists. If you really wanted to have a go with these asanas in more depth, remember we do have our Patreon video there that goes into a lot more depth. Let's find our Uttanasana again at the front. Land your feet hip width distance, folding forward. Peace fingers come around the left big toe. Right hand comes to the right hip. Shift your weight into the right foot, strong core as you push the right foot into the ground as you lift yourself up. Utthita Hasta Padangusthasana. Squeeze left shoulder back, left hip back. Take another deep breath in. As we exhale, wind the left foot around. Find length through the spine. Take another deep breath in. As we exhale, let's find that hinge position. So hips shifting back, spine still really long. You can always have the knee bent here as well. Inhale, come back. Exhale. Let's shift it back. Slow release into Virabhadrasana 3. Breathe in, left toes reach back, maybe arms forward. Exhale, hold. Tuck the rib cage in, feel the core engage. Left toes come back, left knee comes down, Anjaneyasana, breathe in, lift the arms. Exhale, hold, maybe a subtle back bend here. Hands come down to the ground. Breathe in, step back into downward facing dog. Exhale, hold. Okay, bring your knees down to the ground. You can use this time to chill out a little bit. As you watch me, I'll demonstrate the transition that you might try in your own time. You can pause the video if you would like, but it's a pretty fun one. And what you basically do, you go from our shoulder pressure pose into firefly and then into crow pose. It's quite a challenging one, and I'm still learning it personally. I think I've only done it a couple of times. But you'll start in your shoulder pressure pose. Feet coming together. From here, you'll find firefly, Tadasana. Feet come out and you lift up, really protract the shoulder blades away. From here, you'll wind your feet around until you find somewhat of a crow pose. Now for me, this crow looks a little bit different to normal. Elbows for me are on the inside of the thigh. I'm still trying to figure out if it's even possible for me to wind them around and bring them up onto my knees. We shall see with time. But if you wanted to have a practice with that, feel free to pause the video and you can roll with that in your own time. If you would like to start warming down, we'll just take one or two poses here. First one we'll try is our Vinyasa, our hero's pose, one of my favorites. You can start with your feet together or feet come out wide. Now, if this feels quite crunchy in the knees, ankles, hips, you can bring a block or two or a pillow or a blanket, something to lift your hips up. And that's just going to help relieve some tension in the joints. Now, if you felt like a little bit more, just walk your hands back, tuck the tailbone underneath you. That's going to help lengthen through the hip flexors. Elbows might come down and this is where you might stay. Or if it felt accessible, welcomed in the body today, head could come down as well. And this was just a really nice way to release through the front of the body, to take some time off our hands. Slowing things down, maybe even closing down the eyes, letting the rhythm of the heart, the rhythm of our thoughts perhaps, letting those kind of settle. And if you're down on the ground with me, just press through the elbows, hands around the soles of the feet, lift yourself up. Sweep your legs around and we're going to head down on our back. Once you get there, hug the knees into the chest, take a deep breath in. As we exhale, drop both knees over to the right. We haven't done a huge amount of twisting in this practice, so it's just nice to release the spine. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, twist to the left. Coming back through center, finding your way into shavasana. Legs might be long here. Knees might be bent. Just find a position which allows you to feel the most comfortable. Allowing the space between the eyelids to soften, the lips, the jaw, the breath to slow down. We'll just be here for a couple of minutes of quiet and I'll let you know when it's time to transition out. Just starting to take a deeper breath here. Wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingers. And then grabbing back the backs of the legs, starting to roll yourself up. Landing in a seat with the eyes closed. Taking this time to acknowledge yourself for turning up on your mat today. Making this time for you and yourself, your body, your mind, your spirit, and potentially doing something that's challenging. And that may not necessarily be the asanas, it might just be spending time with yourself. But it's all good, it's all good. Hands to heart center, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, let it go. Thank you so much, everyone. If you really love the practice, let me know. I love hearing from you. So leave a comment, like, share with a friend. Remember, the Patreon video is also there for you if you wanted to explore these poses in a little bit more depth. But I can't wait to practice with you again sometime soon.